Okay, welcome back everyone as we learn today's Daf Yud Daled. And, Simona Milsa is a very big thing. One of the greatest happiness of life is die. Somebody that feels he has enough. That's what we always say, Sabeinu mituvecha, satisfy us with your goodness. A person feels that. A person like Yaakov Avinu, Yesh li kol, I have everything. I always maintained that that's the reason why we sing that song Pesach night. The whole world sings it with the same zemer. It's a lesson to our families. Enough. I have enough. That's the achievement of a Sameach B'Chelkai. In my lifetime in the Rabbanis, I've seen people that had this attitude in life that they have what they need. We all say Sha'asali Kol Tzarki, but there are people that live that way, that live with that Simchas HaChaim. So we are holding, and the Gemara says 3 lines from the top of Daf Yud Daled Amud Aleph, as we learn to be Mekayim the mitzvah Dibar Tabam. We said that the dipping of the blood by the Chatas Pnimiyas, that's considered an avoida, and if you have a machshava pigel, it would disqualify. The dipping of the finger in the blood by the outer chatas, the garden variety chatas, that will not disqualify. So the Gemara says, well, chatas hachitzainis pshita, like sibul v'tavel. It doesn't say in the Torah you should dip it. Says the Gemara, it's true. So kedai t'chamina ha'yol v'ksiv v'lokach, that you should take the blood. Now the bottom line is, if a monkey comes and he puts it on your finger, you see, I didn't use anybody as an example for this. I didn't. Why is everybody looking in one direction?
We're looking at Rabbi Kranz.
Yeah, no, we're not. Says the Gemara, why is he picking on you, Rabbi Kranz? What did you do? Yeah, right, I know. Says the Gemara, V'yasi kuf, if a monkey would come and ramalu ayode and put it on his finger, you'd have to take it another time. So therefore, since that's the din, I would say, you're right. You would have to do it again. It would be a do-over. But lahaki like sivataval. That's why there's a difference. That by the chatas apnimis it says v'taval, and by chatas achitzanis it doesn't. The mashma'achi. It's to tell you that on the one hand you have to do it. On the other hand, because it doesn't say it, it's not an avodah chashuva. Now we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon Machshir Behilach. Rabbi Shimon says that even if you have a machshav of pigel when you're carrying the blood to the mizbeach, it's not ma'akiv, it doesn't disqualify, because it's not an indispensable avodah. Says the Gemara, but that's not so by the chatos hapnimius, because there you have to carry it. Because the shrit has to be outside, and the blood has to be brought inside. So you have to carry it. I'm Reb Shimon B'Lakish, Ma'ida Reb Shimon B'Lakish Chatois Hapnimius, that with the transport of the blood of the inner chatois, Shemachshava Paiselis Bo, since, why? Hayil V'Avodah Shein Yachal Avatla. It's an avodah that you can't be mavat. Says Gemara, But again, what are you telling me? If this is according to Reb Shimon says that anything that's not done on the outer altar ain't chayav lo mishum pegel. So you're explaining to me according to Reb Shimon that the halacha would be a problem by the chatois hapnimius, but anything that's done inside isn't pegel according to Reb Shimon because it's not by shlamim. Amar Reb Yaisi Reb Chanina, you're right. It won't be pigel. It'll only be puzzle. You're right. We learned pigel from shlamim. This is not in the framework of shlamim. It won't be pigel, but it'll be puzzle. So Amar Reb Yaisi Reb Chanina, Magda Hayu. Reb Shimon agrees that lipsul, even though it's not pickle, but it is puzzle. Mikal v'chaymer. Oma shaloi lishman, she'uchshiru b'shlamim. Madach shaloi lishman, which is kosher by shlamim, puzzle b'chatas, chutzes manai. Machshava pickle, she'paisel b'shlamim. Einoi din she'yifsal b'chatais. Says the Gemara, okay, that's v'ashkechan chutz lizmanai. We find that by chutz lizmanai, chutz mekaymai minala. How do we know if you have a machshava in the halacha of chutz mekaymai that it also disqualifies? Ima chutz lizmanai, you can't learn it out because chutz lizmanai is kares. Ala chutz lizmanai sheken kares. Ima shaloi lishma. And if you want to learn it out from a kal v'chomer from Shaloi Lishma, it's the same kal v'chomer. Ma'adach by Shlamim, where Shaloi Lishma is not possible. Chutz Mekaymer is possible. So by Chatois Hapnimius, where Shaloi Lishma is possible, surely Chutz Mekaymer should be possible. You can't learn it out from Shaloi Lishma. Shekein noyeg b'bama, because shaloi lishma is by a bama, and chutz l'mekaymai is not by a bama. Says the Gemara, that's not a bama. Is not a pircha, because where is the psil of shaloi lishma? Only by Pesach and Chatas. Shaloi lishma b'may noyeg b'Pesach Chatas. Pesach Chatas b'bama loy karvu. There's no Pesach and Chatas and Bama, so you can't ask as a Pircha Bama. V'iba Yisema, or else I'll tell you a different source for Chutz Mekaymai. V'iba Yisema, Hekeshu, it's Hekesh. It says in the Pasuk Shlishi, Zechutz Lizmanai. Then it says Pigel, that's Chutz Mekaymai. So now the Gemara says that we said that the halacha by chatois hapnimiyos is indispensable. Unlike by the chatas hachitzainis, it's not indispensable because you could shecht it right next to the mizbeach. Here you have to shecht it by the mizbeach and then bring it in. But now we're going to show that there's varying distances of where it's indispensable. So Amar Rava, it's a very interesting Gemara. Amar Rava, Im Tim Tzaloimer Reb Shimon Savala Kabrei, if Reb Shimon holds like his son, the Amar Beino Ulam V'Lamizbeach Tzafin, that the area between the antechamber and the Mizbeach is north. That means that the whole Mizbeach is on the south side of the Azara, so that you could shecht it on the north of the Mizbeach, right by the door of the Heichel. So then A machshava me'eles b'ilachos chatois. Machshava doesn't help with the transfer element pesach ulam l'lefnim, only from the doorway of the antechamber and within, because you could shecht it, since you have to shecht it, it's kodesh kodashim, you have to shecht it to the north, but the north is already by the door, part of the door of the ulam, so you can shecht it right next to the ulam. So then any halacha until the door is not necessary, so that wouldn't disqualify. V'im tim tzaloimer. Now the Gemara takes us to the removal of the bazichin. The lechem aponim had 2 spoonfuls of frankincense, and they had to be burnt in order to be able to eat the lechem aponim. Now you could have a machshava of pigel. Could you have a machshava of pigel with the transferring of the bazichin? Well, you would say, yeah, transferring it from the shulchan until the mizbeach. Yeah, but there are those that say that the whole floor of the Hazara is kosher to burn the frankincense. You don't have to do it on the top of the mizbeach. So v'im tim tzaloim es savalak Reb Yehuda da'amar toich Hazara mekadesh, that the inside of the Hazara has kedusha, and you could burn the bazichin, the frankincense, even on the floor of the Hazara. So ein machshava me'eles ba'ilach hasiluk bazichin. Machshava won't help with the transfer of the frankincense, the spoonfuls. Ela mepesach heichel v'lechutz, only from the door of the heichel, because the shulchan could be right next to the door of the heichel. So only from the door of the heichel until right outside the antechamber. V'im tim tzalam savak kedushas heichel v'ulam chadei, that the kedusha of the kodesh is the same as the antechamber, so you could put actually the shulchan right by the door of the ulam. Ein machshava me'yeles ela mepesach ulam v'lechutz. Then the machshava only helps from the interior of the doorway of the ulam till outside. V'im tim tzalaymer toich hapesach kelefnim, that even the inside of the doorway has a kedusha, so you put technically the shulchan there. Ein machshava me'eles afilu psia achas. Then machshava won't help even one footstep. Ela b'chtei shotas yodai, just getting it outside to the floor of the Hazara. V'im tom salaymar savar ha'lacha shaloi b'rega lo yishma halacha, that transferring it out, moving your feet, is not considered halacha, then there's no halacha that would pass him. Then ein machshava me'eles klal. Now, Rabbi say, I know Yisrael Fisher was very worried about the time. Heschel is mildly concerned. And I don't want anybody shooting me here. So we'll be finished in no time. Not telling you at the time. Amalei Abaya la moira de Rav Chisda. Abaya said to the broadcaster of Rav Chisda. In olden days, they taught to a large group of people, and the elderly sage could not broadcast his voice so strong. They didn't have a microphone, so they had a broadcaster. I remember when I was in first year base medrash, second year base medrash, so my chaverim left the yeshiva to go hear shir from Reb Chaim Shmulevitz in Eretz Yisrael. And I remember that the first zman they got there, they didn't get into the room. They sat by the window outside the whole zman. So the Rebbe had to project. So Amalei Abaya l'amor de Rav Chisda, Abaya said to the broadcaster of Rav Chisda, do me a favor, Boy mi name Rav Chisda. Hailacha bizar mahu. What's the din if a non-kohen does the hailacha? Amalei, so he said ksheira, that's kosher. Or mikra misayeni, and I have a proof, a pasuk to prove it. It says vayishchutu ha-pesach, they slaughtered the Pesach. Vayizruku ha-kahanim miyadam, and the kahanim. It doesn't say that in the pasuk. Vayizruku, he has this fancy Gemara that talks. Vayizruku ha-kahanim, and the kahanim sprinkled it miyadam, from their hands. Va'aleviyah mafshitim. So here it's clear that it's only from the Zrika Ve'elach. Right? Most of Rav Sheshes. So Rav Sheshes says it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that the halacha could be with a non-kayin. Most of Rav Sheshes, Zor v'aynein, a non-kayin, one who lost his relative that day, a shikr, a drunkard, ubalmum, and a blemished kayin. The Kabbalah, Ba'ilacha, Bezrika pas. Here it is. Often averta. Catching the blood, transferring it, sprinkling it is possible. V'chein yoshev, and also sitting. V'chein smell. Says the Gemara tiyufta. Aye. But Rav Chisda quoted a pasuk. For Rav Chisda kraka amar. Says the Gemara, the ovid maisa itztaba. A zor could be like a pillar. In other words, they could put it in his hand and take it from his hand. But he cannot transfer it. Rabbi Yosef Dimrei Travayu, Hailacha Bizar, Machloikis Reb Shimon Rabbanan. The transferring of a non-kayin is actually a Machloikis Reb Shimon Rabbanan. Reb Shimon Damar Avodah She'ef Shelavatla. Reb Shimon that says in Avodah that you could do away with, lav avodah, and therefore ksher bizar. Rabbanan psula, according to Rabbanan that say that even though it's dispensable, it's still an avodah, and then it's possible. Says the Gemara, but I don't understand. If you're telling me that anything that's indispensable is possible bizar, for shchita, the avodah she'i yefshel levatla, you can't do without it, uksher bizar. It's kosher by Hazar. Amalei shchita lav avodah. Shchita is not an avodah. Says Gemara v'loi. V'am Rab Zeira Amarav shchita is para bizar psula. The shchita of the para aduma, the red cow, is possible by Hazar. V'amarav Allah, because Elazar v'chuka ksivba. Now we have a rule. There are code words. Anywhere where it says kacha or chuka or a lashon of havaya, it has to be that way. So since it says elazar, meaning the kayin, the chuka, so therefore it has to be with a kayin. So you see that it is considered avodah. Says you're comparing apples and oranges. Shani para, the kachi better kabayasi. Para is not Kedusha's Mizbeach, it's Kedusha of temple maintenance. Says Gemara, well, Valav kol dechenu. Isn't it a kal v'chaymer? Kachi better kabayis, have you avoida. If it's an avoida even by temple maintenance, kachi Mizbeach, lav avoida. By kachi Mizbeach, it's not an avoida. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Sheshab Ravidi, Midei Dahave Amaris Nigoim, the viewing of leprosy, the lav avodah, it's not an avodah, or boy kuna, and it needs kuna. Says the Gemara, but variolacha sevarm lekevesh. Now the Gemara goes on a different direction. Variolacha sevarm lekevesh, the avodah she'efshel vatlahi, it's possible to do without, upsula bazar, and it's possible with a zar. The Kayin brings it, so you see that even though putting it on the ramp is not ma'akiv, It's not an avodah that's ef shelavatla, and yet it's possible bizarre. Says the Gemara, that's not a kasha. Heich de gali, where it reveals it. Veich de loy gali. Says the Gemara, but why don't we make a kal v'chaymer? V'lav kol dechenu. U'ma halacha sevam lekevesh. Deloy ma'ak v'kapara. It doesn't block the kapara. By kuna, so halacha is dam, the conveying of the blood, the ma'ak v'kapara. Like kol shechein. Says the Gemara, Ibar Nami, Amar Ula, Amar Rabbi Lazar, Halacha bizarre psula. Transferring the blood with a non-kayin is puzzle, and afilu Rabbi Shimon, even according to Rabbi Shimon, who says that a machshava pigel does not disqualify in halacha, but transferring with a non-kayin is puzzle. Now the Gemara declares the final question of the evening, and I really thank the Olam, everybody here, for their patience. I know this was, we're not zugevaynt to learn two blat Sunday night. We're zugevaynt to learn two blat Hamatzah Shabbos. Yeah. I play pickleball with somebody, and he tells me that on Sunday there's 3 football games. There's 3 zmanim. And he's a masmid on all 3 zmanim. Am I right, Marshall? There's 3? He told me there's a 1.
Yeah. Today I think we had 4.
Okay, so anu amelim ve'hem amelim. We work and they work. And it says that if they could have such a smother with football, so then we could certainly have a smother with learning. So, Yamar, excuse me, Ibaylu, Haylacha shaloi beregel, Shma lacha, Hayloi shma halacha. Transferring without moving your feet, is that considered halacha or not? The nafkamina would be, could a Yisrael hold it and pass it over to a kain without moving his feet? So tashma v'chein yayishev v'chein small puzzle. If he sits or he does it with his left hand, it's puzzle. Implying ha'oimed dumya diyayishev, standing similar to sitting, being in one place, right? But standing similar to sitting, it means where you're standing in one place. That is considered kosher, which would mean that it's called conveying, even if you don't move your feet. And then it wouldn't be allowed to be done with a zar. Says the Gemara, well, when it says Yoshev, it might mean, schlepping yourself along sitting. Dilma Yoshev to Kashayef Meshev, that he schleps himself along while sitting. He drags himself on the floor. And Aymed Dumya Diyayishev means denayed person, where he moves a little bit. And only that's halacha. But maybe standing in one place and passing it to the next person, that's not halacha. Tajma, Shachat Yisrael, the Kibbel Chaveira Akayin, by the Korban Pesach, Yisrael shechs the carbon, a kohen catches the blood, nasna the chavera v'chavera l'chavera, and each there's an assembly line, and the kohen gives it to one kohen, and then the next kohen gives it to the next kohen. So you see that it's considered halacha even without moving. So the Gemara says, no, hasam nami denied a person. Well, if they're moving, so why do you need a bunch of people? Umay kamash malan that b'roiv ha'madris melech. There's an Indian of roiv ha'madris melech. Incidentally, if you remember Herschel, the question of you davening Musaf and Dr. Lapa, and you davening up in the living room, which I offered you. At the end, Rebbeinu Shalom decided you to have it, but the reason why I was hesitant is because it's my Rebbe Shita was never to make more than 1 million. In other words, we never had in my shul on Motzei Shabbos to break up 5 millionim. And the reason is, I remember when we were sitting Shiva for my father 34 years ago, so we had very choshev avelim in the house. My father's brother was there, myself, my brother. So we're talking about, the idea of, it was a huge crowd, about making different minyanim in different rooms. And Reb Ruvain said, B'roi v'am hadris melech. Shiva said, B'roi v'am hadris melech. B'roi v'am hadris melech is a big consideration. Tajma.
Rabbi Weissman, Hilchas Shabbos, don't we have a thing that you're about to piss? It's not considered halacha. It's not considered walking.
No, there it's something else. There it's because it's Talad Amos. So there we pass, and we will sometimes say that when we pass, we're not worried that you'll carry it for Dalad Amos. That's why we pass. But says the Gemara, Tajma, Kibala kosher, if the kosher catches the blood, v'nasan the apostle, and gives it to apostle, yazel the kosher. Now the question is, what does it mean yazel the kosher? So the Gemara thinks that it means that if, let's say, the kohen catches it and he passes it to Barry, so Barry should pass it back to the kohen. The idea being ahead, and the fact that he doesn't move the feet doesn't disqualify. Says the Gemara,
Oh.
well, so the Gemara is, it's not so simple what the raya is here. It's very interesting. It says Yazel the kosher. Says Rashi. Let's learn this Rashi inside. This is a very interesting Rashi. V'hashmeinon tarteba. You learn out two things. Chada deloy mifsel b'may da'afsekei pasel. That it's not disqualified because it was interrupted by the non-kain. Ve'ashmeinon ba da'ilach zu she'asa kosher shaloi beregel. This halacha that the kosher did without moving, shahish l'apostle, that he gave it to the apostle, shayayimid b'tzadam mizbeach, loinas mizbeachsher. It's not done properly because he didn't move his feet. V'lo yishma halacha. It's not considered halacha. Dichtani yachzirena l'mishin aznalai. He has to give it back. If halacha shalai beregel is considered halacha, then why does he have to give it back the Barry only acted as a platform. Let him let a kosher take it from his hand. Barry shouldn't hand it to him. He just did a ma'aseh itztava. So from the fact that we say that he has to give it back, that implies that conveying with the feet would be a ma'aseh halacha. Says the Gemara, no. No, just explain it to me that we could take it from Barry's hand as long as he doesn't give it. L'tzad mizbeach, v'kablenu yitlenu miyad ha'psol. We take it from the hands of Barry, because the one that gave it to Barry, that's a kosher halacha, even though he didn't move his feet. The halacha is kosher kama ksheira. Says the Gemara. So therefore, we so far did not bring a proof whether halacha without the feet is considered a conveyance or not. Okay, here we're going to stop over here. Baruch Hashem, we did it. I want to point out that tomorrow we're already going to finish the first parak of Zevachim. Isn't that amazing, Rabbi Isai? I also want to point out that there's going to be a special share for the Shabboson table. And anybody that wants to sponsor that, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. I also want to point out that if you didn't hear it yet, it's a really good share to listen to. The Shabbos, for the Shabbos Shuvah table, which has the essence of my Shabbos Shuvah drasha. It's available as well.
That was amazing.
Thank you. We want to thank.
First question to ask about this Gemara.
1 second, please.
Yeah.
Yitzhak, really great to have you. Really great. Yes, Saba.
Okay. This Gemara that we're learning the time of the Beis Hamikdash or after the Beis Hamikdash the Kabbalas?
No, this is at the time of the Beis Mikdash.
Okay. Whatever we learned the others, it was a nest. You did not have any pickle. A fly you're going to find with the butchers there, and a smoke went straight up. So
No, we didn't learn that there was no pickle. There's no such Mishnah.
I'll look it up.
No, I'm telling you, it's not one of the 10 things.
I saw it. It said so.
No. Thank you, everybody.
Maybe I didn't read it. I have to check out.
Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening.